Now, before jumping into our next data type, we are going to have a quick view on how to take input from the user. Now, we have already looked into print statements, that are the printing statements. Let me create some new cells before that. Now, printing statements were quite straightforward. We were just doing writing whatever, hey, I am poor. Okay. So it will just display out whatever you are gonna write inside of this double quotes or single quotes. Okay. Now moving into your input statements. Okay. Now how to take input from the user? It is quite straightforward. Again, you just have to write the keyword input. Sorry, a typo. Input and whatever statement you want to give out to print out. Input, enter the number, and with the two colons, yeah, and whichever number you want to give, it will work completely fine. That is how you take an input from the user. Now, to note one thing is, you always take a string value as input. What I meant by this is, if I stored the value somewhere, let's say number equal to, and I'm just going to copy out this code, paste it out, and let's say 45, and if I check the type of the number, it is a string value. So what happens in this kind of scenario is, if I'm having two numbers, let's say number 1, or I'm going to copy this in a new cell, number 1, and I'm going to have one more number, that is number 2. So I'm going to change it a bit, enter number 1, enter number 2. Okay, and after that what I'm going to do is, I'm going to add out number 1 plus number 2, and I'm going to print it out. Sorry for the typo, let me complete the sentence. Print, and let's say I am writing 10 plus 10. The answer should be quite straightforward, 20, but what happens, it will just concatenate it. So as we have seen in our last session, that when two strings are added out with a plus sign, they will concatenate or join together. Okay, in this kind of scenarios, what we do is, we do type conversion. What I meant by this is, I have to convert my string value to integer value. How to do it? It's quite easy. Okay. Let's say I have a string value that is 433. Again, anything you write inside quotation marks are just regarded as an string value. Now how to convert it? You just have to write int, and whatever you want to convert it into an integer. So right now, if I check the type of it, again, I'll just store it to a new variable, that is num. If I check type num, it is an integer value. That is how easy you can do a type conversion. Same thing, if you want to convert it to a float value, just copy this code out, and I'm going to change it to float, float, and you can see that 4433.0. So this is again a decimal value, that is a floating point number in Python. And same thing you can do out with numbers also. If you are having any number you want to convert into a string, in string 4555, and it has been converted to a string. Anything in single quotes or double quotes as a string, right? So that is all about type conversion. Now how to change this code is again quite easy. What I have to do is, I have to convert this one. Okay, let's look into how to do this one by one. I'm gonna take this line of code, paste it out, and write any my number. So this is a string value. Now how to convert it, how to do type conversion is, I have to put a circle or put a area out of it. So I am writing everything, whatever the input the user will be giving, it will be converted to an integer value. Let me check it out. 12. So 12 is an integer value. You can also check the type of it. type, just bubble it up, 45, and it's an integer value. Okay, one by one you can just go inside of it. Now the same thing I'm gonna do it over here. I'm gonna write int, same thing in the below statement, int, and if I type 10 plus 10, it will return me back 20. Now that we know about print statements and input statement very nicely, now we are going to look into some of the print formatting statements. What I meant by print formatting statements is if you want to display out in your anything in your statements, display window, let me check. Okay, so I have two numbers, that is number 1 and number 2, and you want to display out both the numbers. So what you can do is, one of the methods is this one, enter number 1. Okay, and then just a comma, and I'm going to write num1, that is number 1, then again a comma starting with and number 2, number 2 with a colon, comma, number 2. If I display out 10 comma 10, we will be having enter number 1 or is 10, and number 2 is, or what I can write is our number 1 the colon and 10 comma 10. Okay, these you can see that our number 1 is 10 and our number 2 is 10. You can change it out and check if it is working for different values. So yes, it's quite working for all the values. Our number 1 is 10 and our number 2 is again 2. Okay, that is how you can print out your numbers or any value over here. Same thing if I have to update this code out and I want to store it in something like this, sum equal to, and with the inverted commas, and okay, 10 plus 10, sum is 20. Okay, this is one of the ways how you can display it out. Another way is used to use the format method to add formatted objects to printed string statements. A lot of big words just came into play. The easiest way to show this is from this example. Okay, let me show you. uh, the same thing, I'm going to take out the above example, that is of this one. Again, I'm going to display out over here 10, then again 10. So I'm going to rewrite the full code, okay, using the format. Okay. So the first two lines will be quite same, and then I'm going to do print, and to write this out it will be quite similar, our number 1. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create placeholders. Okay, that is in starting from index 0. That is whatever you write in 0 inside a format, it will just show up. Our number 1 is this, and number 2 is, and inside of it it will be 1. Again, just remember that it will start from 0 and end with how many ever placeholders you want. Okay, these are also known as placeholder or holes. Okay, I'm going to call them placeholders. Format, and inside of this I'm going to write number 1 comma number 2, and if I try it out 10 comma 10, you can see that number 1 is 10 and number 2 is 10. So in the above statement, what I have done is I have done printed out the statement using commas, breaking it out, again adding it out. In the next statement, what I have done is I have written everything in a complete sentence, and after that, I have just added out the format keyword. Okay, and in the format keyword, whatever variable names you write out, it will just call out in place of that placeholders. So in 0, it will be in number 1, and at 1, it will be at number 2. There is one more way to display it out, that is using f string. Let me copy this, paste it again, print f, and there's a single quotation mark right now, our number 1, and inside of this I don't have to create exactly the format button. I will just write out the variable name directly, that is number 1 and number 2. Instead of this, I'm gonna write number 2, and this should be working totally fine. Oops, there's two pockets. Okay, let's say 10 comma 10. As you can see that this is working totally fine. So it's on up to you, whichever way you want to use out for displaying out your statements. You can use the classical way, you can use the format statement, or you can use out the f string. That's it in this session. In this session we looked into print, then we looked into how to input a variable, then we looked into how to do type conversion and why type conversion is needed while doing input statements, and then a very important thing that we look into is formatting printing statements, that is print formatting. This is one way to display out our uh, printing statements. Then this is again one more way, that is by using format, and this is again one more way by using f string. Over here we have a f keyword. Okay. That's it for today's session. In our next session we are going to start with a new data type, that is list.